Not a whole lot different from how I felt yesterday from the game. Again, just an opportunity to go toe-to-toe for 3 quarters and got to find a way to finish the game better in all 3 phases, I think, at the end of the day, to put ourselves in position to win. But a lot of good things to coach off of, to work off of. Got a really good Indianapolis team coming in here, a divisional game at home. So got to get our attention focused on them real quick and get the things fixed we got to get fixed this week and keep pushing forward. So I'll let you guys go ahead.
Brian, at some point, pressure building to break through and get a win. I know that this is a new season, but there's a skid now that's going back to last season. And with this being the second home game, then you go on the road for 3 days or 3 games, excuse me. How much does that mean? Just get a win right now.
Yeah, our urgency is high to get a win. That hasn't changed. It's been a high for 2 weeks now. I mean, it's not for lack of urgency or lack of intent. Certainly would love to get a win so that our players can feel that feeling and we can get ourselves on the right track. Those are things that we're all working hard towards. I don't, it's just one of those things that when you've lost the amount of games that we have over the time that we've done it, you're searching for that feeling and searching for that performance that allows you to go win a game. And thus far through 2 games, a lot of good things, but ultimately not enough to win them. And we got to find a way to go win a game at the end of the day. And that's always going to be our goal, and our urgency is incredibly high to go do that.
When you watch Cam back again today, what did you like? Maybe what are some things he still needs to keep improving at?
Yeah, he sees the field really, really well. That part has been really encouraging. I think we had 1 or 2 missed opportunities that you can't miss in a game like that. That we had a chance to generate something explosive potentially. I thought that he was better with his footwork and with his progressions this week than he was the week before. I think he gets better every time he walks on the field, and that's really good to see. The biggest thing for him is the ball security portion. It's just trying to keep 2 hands on the ball, moving through the pocket. That's a thing that all young quarterbacks got to get used to. There's arms and bodies and people all raking at that ball at a really high rate, and we got to do a better job securing it in the pocket. But there was a lot of really great things from Cam. Some of the throws, the location, some of those balls to Ellick down the sideline. There was some really, really good stuff from the game that I'm incredibly encouraged by. And again, you stack another week of practice and another game, and you like to see it continue to get better. And I think we will.
If he's seeing the field that well, what's the disconnect with the completion percentage, which is not?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've had some drops. I think we can all agree with that. That affects it a pretty good amount. And then we've had a couple of potential, aggressive plays that he saw well and put the ball in the air, and we got to go make those plays. And then he's it's not perfection. I mean, he's missed some throws too that we like to have. So, but I think in totality, where he's at and what he's done is something that I'm very encouraged by. I'm excited by, and I think for a young player in his first 2 starts against 2 really good defenses, I think there's some really good stuff to take away.
Seemed like at least a few times he passed on Lockett, who was pretty open, shorter, to go more aggressively for something more complicated, more difficult, deeper. What's the counsel there after the fact?
Just awareness of the play and of the coverage structure, of just understanding that he's a bit of a hunter. He likes to go looking for big plays, and I think that's pretty normal for some of these guys coming out of college these days. That's how they play at that level. And it's different because the rushes are different and the caliber of coverage player is different. But at this level, you have to be a little bit more strategic in when and where and how. And those are things that he's learning. There's answers baked into a lot of plays for the quicker throw, for a man coverage beater. It doesn't necessarily always have to be down the field. And those are things that Cam is learning every time he goes out there. But there's some opportunities that are good teachable moments for him when it comes to understanding the structure of the play and where his answers are versus particular coverages.
Dating back to last year, you guys have been outscored.
I'll come back, Terry.
Well, it was on the same subject.
Go ahead, Terry.
When you talk about the yards per attempt, it's pretty low. You attribute that.
What's
more,
the yards per attempt? Just like I don't know what it is.
4.7, I think. Do you attribute that more to the incompletions, or do you attribute that more to taking the shorter routes or things like that? What do you think factors into that?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know enough about that number to really dive into it, but I think we've had plenty of opportunities to go down the field. He's taken a few of them. He's done a good job of managing some shorter throws. That's all a part of it. You still have to be able to, when you get playing with a backup tackle, and you're trying to manage that process as well. So there's some things that go hand in hand. There's probably some run solution throws that we've kicked out that haven't gotten, they're behind the line of scrimmage type throws that don't get a ton of yards. So I'm sure there's a combination of a bunch of different things. I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to anything that he's doing or not doing at the moment through 2 games.
Dating back to last year, you guys have been outscored in the fourth quarter, 80, 90 points. I know yesterday you said you're going to take a hard look at the adjustments and all of that, and if you found anything, feel free to share. But you've been in the league a long time. Just generally speaking, when teams have a problem finishing, what's the common thread there?
That's a layered question. There's a lot you can probably go, a lot of directions you can take that. I do think we've been in both the games, with time late in the third, early in the fourth, like every good game in the NFL is. They're all within a score as you approach the fourth quarter, most of them, and there's a lot of things I think that go into it. It's hard to necessarily pin it all down on one particular thing, but we haven't played well enough in the fourth quarter, and have to find a way to continue to play a little bit better, a little bit longer than we have at the moment. And that comes in, there's coaching involved in that. There's execution involved in that. Those things all have to find a way to improve, and haven't done it yet, and we have to find a way to do it.
Do you think the idea of in-game adjustments or the criticism of you guys' inability to do that is fair or overblown?
I mean, I think I've kind of jumped down this road before with what that looks like. I mean, those adjustments are ongoing. It's constant. Very rarely. I mean, halftime feels like it's about 5 minutes long by the time you get in there and make any adjustments that you haven't made yet. Really, we're adjusting in between every series. We're going through the looks that we got the series before, what the next calls are that are coming up, where we want to head, what direction, how they're playing us, how do we counteract it. Those things are sort of ongoing conversations. I've always been a huge believer in this halftime thing. It's very much overblown in terms of what you can accomplish in that short amount of time that you don't already accomplish in the conversations in between series. I mean, that's really where the adjustments happen, is in between series. They're a lot more immediate than waiting for halftime to make an adjustment, I think. So anytime you don't perform in those moments, though, you're open for criticism, and I understand that. So, but I would say that it's not necessarily a halftime adjustment thing. That's constantly happening throughout the course of the game.
With Ward and the game-to-game improvements that you touched on, what would you say is the next step of improvement for him, and how much will that tie into things opening it up a little bit more for him as far as attempts and things like that?
I think some of the commitment to trying to run the ball is the defenses we were playing. That's part of it. That's how do you keep the defense from teeing off? Well, you try to stay in manageable spots, and we've put ourselves in some tough third downs, I think, over the course of these 2 games, on a first down sack or a penalty or things of that nature. But really, how do you play teams that can rush the passer? Is you got to be able to run the football, and you got to put yourself in more manageable spots on third down in particular. The old stay on schedule adage. I think the Rams were a really good example of that yesterday. I mean, they put themselves in, I think, 3rd and 5 or less quite a bit during that game. It doesn't allow you to get your pressure packages up. It's harder to rush the quarterback. The ball comes out faster. All of those things factor in when you're trying to maintain some rhythm and some balance. And for the first 2 weeks, we've tried to do that. And to say Cam's going to go out there and we're going to throw the ball 45 times a game at the moment, I don't know that that's accurate or smart to do in that case. Certainly, if it was necessity and we had to, then so be it. But I just think you still want to have some semblance of balance. You want to run the football well, which I thought we did run the football well yesterday. I thought Tony Pollard had a really nice game. And that's how you help your line, too, is you keep it balanced and you work your actions off of it. I thought we got a ton of production out of our movement game yesterday. Some of the play action and keepers that were off of that stuff that we put on tape. So it's still an evolving process, and he's getting better and doing things from a footwork perspective and a timing perspective. Every time he's been out, he's gotten better at it. I think that'll continue.
11 sacks in the first 2 games. How much of a concern is the pass pro right now?
Yeah, I know. Again, we've been down this road, I think, before, and I don't mean to be dismissive of your question, but I think that, as I've said a million times, that sacks are an offensive problem. They're not an offensive line problem. Felt like a handful of our sacks were avoidable. One of the sacks is Cam running out of the pocket and taking a 2-yard loss, outside the pocket, which isn't an offensive line thing. I think a lot gets made of sacks being an offensive line stat. And while I'm not dismissing the fact that we got to play better up front. That's certainly not the case. But the sack thing is an entire equal parts problem. We've had 2 or 3 pressures and sacks come off of some running back protection things. It's not just them. And so yeah, the number in and of itself is concerning. Don't like that number. Don't want to have that. That's not going to help us win any football games. But I do think there's an extra onus that gets put on our offensive line based on what's happened here before and how it's looked, that the sacks are all on them. There's 11 sacks, and oh my God, that looks terrible. I think it's a little more nuanced than that, and I think there's more things that can be done to help from quarterback perspective, from receiver perspective, from running back perspective. So it's an everybody issue that we don't just pin the blame on them. We got to be better everywhere on offense, I think, for that number to improve.
Would you like to see Cam maybe run a little bit more, when he has a chance to either take a check down or take off, because it might add an extra element to the game?
Yeah, I think Cam's a really good pocket mover. I think he's got great feel. I think he's learning more and more about how these NFL pockets feel, and the duress that you get put under. And he's made some really good plays with his feet. That touchdown throw was an example of it. The difference between him and some other quarterbacks is that when he escapes the pocket, he's looking for plays in the passing game. And that's what's going to end up making a lot of plays over time, is his eyes are always downfield. And there's some spots where he could run and maybe pick up a couple more yards. And I think he will as the year goes on. He'll understand where the 4 or 5 yards might actually help us more than a deep attempt that goes incomplete. But that's just things that he's learning and working through as we go. And I love his mentality when he does get out of the pocket, because that's where the big plays in this league happen, is when you break contain and your eyes are downfield and you're looking for potential explosive plays.
To that point, I don't know how many quarterbacks in the history of the league could make the play he made yesterday. Some people describe it as a no-yes throw.
Yeah.
How do you coach? I mean, does he have the green light to do anything like that ever?
Yeah, it's certainly a fine line. But those are the plays that make him special. That's what makes him unique. That's what made him a number 1 overall pick, is the ability to make those types of plays. Really, it was smart on his part. It's 3rd and 9 from the 9. That's like a major green light to extend the play, because even if you take a 6-7 yard sack, the field goal is in your pocket. You know what I mean? It's a situational awareness thing, and that's where the good quarterbacks in this league buy time. If they know it's 3rd down, they're inside the 10-yard line. It's like it's street ball, baby. Like that's when it happens, and that was an unbelievable throw and catch. And really, the reaction by Ellick was the one that was the most impressive part of the play, other than the throw. But yeah, that's like the old Mike Holmgren, Brett Favre clip where, they got the old clip on him where he's, no, okay, that's good, that's a good play. Like that's what it feels like sometimes, and you don't want to take that away from him, because those are the plays that he's capable of making.
When you made your way through the offseason analysis on the sins and all that stuff, what was the conclusion you communicated to the players about penalties? Is it as simple as penalties bad, or is there more nuance? How did you kind of explain what you were trying to get across to them about what needed to change with penalties?
The end result is the controlling the controllable ones. You're going to get called for holding. Defensive players are going to get called for defensive pass interference. That's just the way some of it's subjective. It depends on the crew, all that stuff. Those are the ones you don't necessarily have control of. But the ones that you do, the pre-snap and post-snap, alignment, those types of things, you can we jumped off sides 3 times yesterday, and those are 5-yard penalties, and on a 1st and 10, now it's 1st and 15, and now it's 2nd and 10, and now it's 3rd and 8. Those are the rhythms you're trying to break. And ultimately, are penalties predictive of wins and losses? Are they predictive for playoff teams? It's a little bit looser in the penalty thing than it is per se like the turnovers, right? Turnovers are incredibly predictive. That's good teams turn the ball over, they make the playoffs. If you don't take care of it, you don't win games. Like that's tried and true NFL formula for every team in the league. The penalty part is a little bit more variant. There's not as many concrete things that you say if you less penalties equals more wins. That's not necessarily the case, but there is a brand of football that you try to play where you're not beating yourself, and that's happened for us a few times as we're trying not to put ourselves in position to lose games. We're trying to win them, and so you have to start there by taking care of the things that don't get you beat. And I think ultimately that's where the emphasis started and what we landed on is that's how you have to improve your football team, is taking care of the things you can control, because there's a lot of things you can't, but the things that we can, we got to do a better job of controlling.
Why aren't the screens working, and what do you need to add on top of the screens to the short game?
Yeah, I think probably based on what I assume, some of the things that get labeled as screens are what we call run solutions. Those are some of the bubbles and the things in the perimeter that you have to have when you're running the ball, like in 11 personnel. You have to have some things to manage pressure and extra players and stuff like that. They've become a lot harder now than they used to be because of the offensive pass interference rules. And what ends up happening with some of those bubbles is the receivers can't go contact. They can't go get on the DB first, and it's really sort of changed how the production of those things. They have to wait to go put hands on, and then those DBs go running right through their face and they're on their heels. They're plays that I think we got to do a little bit better job of in terms of when and where we throw them and when and where we ask those guys to do that, because they're harder now than maybe they've ever been to execute with an offensive advantage because of that OPI contact rule. But a lot of those things, when you're talking about screens, I think that's what gets brought up is those plays. Our actual screen game has been okay. It hasn't been great, but those are also great tools to help your line and help your ability to slow down the pass rush. And so we like to get some more improvement from those things. And again, for the average person, a bubble and a run solution looks very similar to a screen. I understand that, but I think we can get more out of that screen game, certainly from an execution standpoint.
Yesterday, what have you seen from him just from the moment that you first met him when we got out here, and his ability to do what he does?
I mean, the biggest thing I think is everything that you've seen whenever, he was at Stanford, you're starting to see now. And so I think he's being able to get a lot more opportunities. He's taking advantage of his one-on-one matchups, and he's being able to win because the league is going to be all contested catches probably 85-90% of the time. And so if he's able to make those big-time catches, then eventually it's going to start opening up a lot more guys, because now the defense has to worry about the other person that we have sometimes if we put them on the backside.
He seems like a guy who's got such quiet confidence about him. What do you notice about that?
I mean, I think he goes about his stuff like the way that he is. I mean, he's a cool kid, right? So it's kind of cool to see him and Chim, just the way that their mindsets are about approaching the game of football. Not too many rookies have the type of mindset of like, hey, man, I'm here to work. I'm here to get better. I'm here to grind. A lot of times you get rookies who come in and they were the man, and then all of a sudden you go to the NFL and, you get money, you get the lifestyle, you get all that, and it kind of takes them a year or two to get their head straight. But like these guys coming in and they're doing exactly what it is that you want to be able to see a rookie do. So I think it's going to be very promising for them as well.
For your whole career, you've been on teams in Seattle that were contenders and going to the playoffs, making deep runs, things like that. What's the adjustment been like for you to come to a team that's completely rebuilding and struggling to find his footing?
I mean, well, even the times that I was in Seattle, I've been on teams too where in Seattle, like, we were doubted. You know what I mean? So, and they said, hey, they're going to probably be 7-9 or whatever the case is. But it's really just the mindset and mentality of who you have as a team. So here, I mean, yeah, we started off with two really, really great teams, and I think we have a really, really good schedule ahead of us in general. But I think for the most part is the belief that we can be able to win games, the belief that we can be able to trust one another. We have the players that we need to be able to win this game, and it's just being able to play a full 4 quarters. We easily could look at this game yesterday and see like, hey man, we was up. We're doing everything right. Then the fourth quarter comes and okay, they score. It's 20 versus 16. Oh, that's what it's going to be like in the playoffs. teams are going to go score. Teams are going to go back ahead. You got to be able to know how to respond. And so for us, we can't just like live in hope, right? We got to just be able to go out there and continue to grind and continue to be detailed every single drive, because we could see if we're not detailed, the score can go 30-something to 14 or 17, whatever the score was, that fast. And so we just got to be able to stay connected and stay as one whenever we're playing those great 3 quarters. It's like, hey, man, now it's time to finish.
When so much of the emphasis this offseason was on that connection and that being together, what is the disconnect you're seeing between that emphasis and that thing that you guys said you really got stronger at over the offseason, and maybe not having that in the fourth quarter of these first couple of games?
I mean, I wouldn't say much disconnect. I would say there's penalties that we could definitely clean up. But, I mean, one of the things that I'm just thinking of is you just got to get over the hump. It's one of those things where, like, when you get into the games, things are going to happen and things are going to make you say maybe like, oh, here we go again. Like, you know, maybe we haven't seen things work out in our favor a lot, you know. But at the end of the day, we got to just be able to choose to get over that hump. And I think, honestly, as soon as we figure out how to get over that hump, I think it's going to be very, very promising.
When you guys are diagnosing what's going wrong at the end of these games, how much are you seeing your opponent adjust to take away some of the things you're doing well? And is it more, I guess, is it more the other team adjusting and you guys not being able to adjust back, or is it just the execution on your end starts to fall apart at the end?
I mean, I think adjustments are basically another game plan, a game within a game, right? Like, you got your game plan going into a game, and then you got your game plan at halftime. And I think that, you know, even when you look at our game, like, I still think that we did a great job being able to move the ball, still being able to do some of the stuff. The hard part is, like, we can't get penalties on 2nd and 3rd down that's going to put us from 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5 to now we're at 3rd and 9, or now we're at 3rd and 11. It's very hard against a good defense to be able to get a 3rd down and 10 plus and to continue on with the drive. And I think even in meetings, we found out in these last 2 games that we've played, we had 19 3rd and like 10 pluses. And so that's what's really hurting us, and that's what is causing us not to be able to get over the hump, because if we can be able to get to the 3rd and manageables, then we could be able to open up our playbook. But once you get to that 3rd and 10 plus, now the defensive ends are licking their chops. The D tackles are licking their chops, because now they know, hey, man, it ain't going to be no run. Like, the only thing we got to look for is maybe a screen. So we got to be able to do better on those 3rd downs just to be able to put us in a better situation where, okay, it's 3rd and 4, maybe we run the ball because they're expecting some type of pass. But we can't even get to that point yet because we're doing pre-snap penalties, and that's what's really shooting us in the foot. And you can't do that against 2 playoff teams that we just played.
To your point about that, you know, with Brian Callahan kind of leaning more on the run, given the teams that you face, you know, as you're out there and you're watching, can you kind of like feel the run slow down the pass rush, if you know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, when you go against, like, great pass rushers, like going back to the first 2 games, being able to run the ball, and, like, really when you run the ball, you really just want to get a minimum of 4 yards, right? Like, you get 4 yards every play, it's a first down. But the way TP was running the ball, the way the line was blocking, I mean, when we're able to get 8 yards, 10 yards just off of a run, now all of a sudden it starts to set up play actions. And that's whenever you start to be able to see some of the explosives. Like, Rid was able to get it play, like, it's 2 explosives just off of play actions. And so if we can start being able to take advantage of the run, now it opens up more of the explosives. Now you don't worry about so much like other things where the DNs and everybody starts to tee off and run. But those things definitely help us, but also not getting behind the sticks. Like, you know, I think we had a penalty and then we went 1st and 15 on that drive where we were down 4. Like, we can't do that. Like, those are the things where what would it really look like if we eliminate those penalties? Do we win that game? Do we still lose? If we lose, we're not blaming ourselves from pre-penalty snaps. So we got to be able to continue to tell the truth and continue to get better from things that we're doing that's removing us from being able to reach victory.
You know, we've watched your routine maybe before practice, you do work after practice. When did you start doing that, and who are the people you maybe watched that you maybe learned from early in your career?
I've done it my whole life. I mean, I've always done it my whole life. Like, I mean, there's different reasons why I've done it. Like, I play for my faith, so I want to see how great that I could really be. And, you know, being able to play this game and being a receiver is very hard to dictate what your stats are going to look like, how you're going to play, what you're going to do, because there's so many different factors with the line blocking, the quarterback throwing you the ball, the play that's being called, the defense running the right type of coverage. But, like, for me, I want to be able to see how great that I could be, how far can I take this game. And that's all that I try to focus on is, hey, man, did you win your rep? Hey, man, are you getting open? Hey, man, are you catching the ball when the ball is coming to you? Okay, if you drop the ball like you did in the preseason, let's go back and work on that. Like, let's not get so caught up in the negatives. Like, let's just continue to go and get better, because at the end of the day, the game is going to end for all of us. And for me, like, I want to be able to